And now it's time for me to introduce today's eminent panel. And first one is from Dynamo in Odense, Denmark, Elena Stansiu. Wanna wave? We see you, yes. And from Riga Circus in Riga, Latvia, it's Odja Kalve.
Hello, everybody.
And from Arts Printing House in Vilnius, Lithuania, it's Gabriele Kundrotaite.
Kundrotaite, yes, hello everyone. That's great.
And from Subtopia in Stockholm, Sweden, it's Linda Brelin.
Hello.
Perfect. And to steer this ship safely into dock, I want to introduce our moderator, Kristina Simpson, General Manager at Circus Centrum. And Circus Centrum is the national member association for the professional circus sector in Sweden. Take it away, Kristina.
Why, thank you. So first, I'd really like to welcome everybody and thanking you for coming and joining this conversation about circus residencies. As you all know, residencies play a really important role in artistic development, but they can also raise a lot of questions about things like access to space or working conditions, resources, what to think about when you're hosting a residency. So today we're going to explore and listen to this panel and their experiences and perspectives on residencies. So the first question I'm going to ask is like an open question, a broad question for the full panel. And that is why residencies are important within the circus field. So now we'll see who wants to start answering that question.
I can start.
Great, Elena.
It's an easy question.
Yeah.
I mean, we think it's absolutely crucial to have residencies. Dynamo was started by two artists. So we have this motto that it's by artists for artists, and they understand perfectly what it means to need space, time, focus, resources. And generally, we've come to understand that residencies just feed this ecology of the art form. We see residencies as a space to foster ideas as well as support to finish productions and performances. And we have this in recent years. We're moving in a direction where we're just excited to hear what creators think and want to do, not necessarily with a performance that will be staged in mind as an end product that can be sold and all that, but just to give a space for ideas to be to flourish. So yeah, this is what we think.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Yeah. Who wants to add something to that, to the question, or maybe to what Elena was talking about?
I can continue.
Yeah.
Well, I think we can just agree with everything that you said, that we see residencies as like a fundamental part of the infrastructure of circus. And basically to make it like super easy for it is a matter of existence. If we don't do residencies, we won't have any circus performances because it's such a huge part in how circus is created. It's not like with theater where you hire a director and then you have a rehearsal period and then you're done. Like circus has its own way to also be made, and without residencies, that creative process is not possible, and we won't have anything to show in other parts of the art industry.
Yeah, and that's of course super important. And we have Gabriele would like to add something too. Go ahead.
Yeah, I would like to add that residencies is a way, an opportunity to exchange between local and international artists and companies. Because, for example, in Vilnius at Arts Printing House, when international artists or companies are coming, we are usually trying to have some informal meetings or open workshops, work in progress presentations for open public, so for professionals and non-professionals. So it's a way to exchange as well as all the things that was mentioned before.
Yeah, and that's such a super important part of residencies and the meetings that can happen between different artists also. Audrey, would you like to continue?
Well, you said, I think, everything But I would say, residencies are also part of Riga Circus program. It's a part of our strategy when we think about developing contemporary circus. And it's time and space where you can dedicate yourself for creations, for new creations. The place where you can go away from everyday, problems or financial issues, especially if the residency support with some artistic fees it's networking. It's a great platform how to meet audiences during your creation time. It's place where to experiment, where you don't need to think about about the economic issues and to dedicate yourself to your art.
Yeah, and I think you brought up something there that I'm really curious about, and that's what you think about. And I think this is like a broad question also to the panel, but about the fees, artistic fees or residency support, like economical support, but it could also be other type of support. What is your view on that, and how do you work with residencies with support, and what kind of support?
Maybe I can continue.
Continue.
Even though residencies are part of Riga Circus strategy, the residency program itself is not funded like the other directions of Riga Circus School. They are funded by our Riga Circus is state-owned enterprise, so we have funding for this. But residencies, we need to find funds, and it really depends if we have funding for it or not. And if we have, then we can offer artists fees, per diems, travel support. But if not, then we can offer just space. And that's why our residency program is quite diverse, and we try to find different approaches how to get additional support for it.
Yeah, and the support is so important because it's rare. Like at times, of course, artists come with some project funding or whatever, but often you have no money coming in during that period. So it could be a very important part of a residency. But other parts could also be interesting, like support for choreography or technical support. What do you, the rest of the panel, what do you say? How do you work, and what do you bring to the table in residencies?
I can share that in our spinning house, we started the international residency program in 2010. And we do always cover travel expenses, transportation expenses, then accommodation and per diems. We don't have the full capacity to cover artistic fees, but we always try, and we always do apply for extra funding, or we assist companies and artists that are coming to apply themselves to various funds. So there are like base that we provide, like the space and the technical help and assistance, and then transportation, travel, per diems, and accommodation. And then we see if we can get something more. And I do also want to add that I'm very happy that we are collaborating with Riga Circus, with Audrey. And for example, this summer we'll have Circo Eia from Catalonia, big company of 10 people, and 2 artists are coming with their like family, with a baby and a nanny. So it's many people, and it would be like too pricey for us to host this kind of group. So we found a way with Riga Circus to share some costs, and for Circo Eia to come for 1 week in our spinning house and to travel to Riga, which is very near, for another week. So they have like a normal time, like 2 weeks, right, for creation, but we're sharing the costs. So there are always creative ways we're trying to find.
Yeah, and I think a collaboration we should talk a little bit more about shortly. But Elena, you had something to first. I think we'll let you in on that.
Yes, just to respond to this question, I think we have a similar story. We also offer transportation, accommodation, food, which are all a little bit more expensive because they all come to Denmark, where it's very expensive to have an Airbnb. And for a long time, we didn't have a fee. And of course, we knew that this is not sustainable. And now we're working towards having residencies that also offer a production fee. But we also have this value of not having an empty space, because the space itself is a resource. So we keep the calendar open. Yearly, we commit to 15 residencies that we try to fund fully with everything that they need, including a fee. But then we keep the opportunity open for artists to reach out when they do have production resources from somewhere else. For example, we have Erasmus. There's some Erasmus Plus situation where they get their own money and then they just need a space to work. We also have Circus Next, where they come with we're a platform member there, and generally it's been shown that it's this, like, sometimes it's emergencies that artists write to us and they're like desperate, they need something in the next 6 months to finish something, and then it's very hard to say no because we can't offer you a fee. So we typically just ask, we have this application form and ask artists what they need, and then we take a conversation from there. And we used to have, depending on funding, we used to have these resources where we could offer a choreographer or a light technician or a sound technician or a photographer or videographer during. So it's like a bit like resources according to what they need.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Linda, do you want to talk a little bit about how you work at Subtopia?
Yes, so I would say that the core of our residencies is our studio. As for what you also mentioned, that it's a matter of having a place and to be able to offer that place to as many artists as possible. And then we have a small apartment. So that's like the basic things in our residencies. We are lacking budget for a residency, so we can't do like co-productions or fees or paid travels as like a general rule. But we also work a lot with collaboration in order to be able to fund other things. So that can be with international partners, different programs, and then we offer our space and our support and everything that we have here in terms of some technical support, but also network and to be a place where we are also very welcome and supportive. That's our aim. I think for us that also means that our application process is very simple. You basically just send an email to us, and the criteria are that you need to be professional and work on a performance. And I think it's a strength in the application process being very very simple, because what we're offering is also in some ways it's everything, but it's also simple. So to kind of meet that and not have super big requirements for coming, because that wouldn't feel fair when we can't offer a lot of money or pay for travels to make a deal that's good for everyone and supported in the ways that we can.
Yeah. I was also thinking about, because now we talked a lot about what the artists get out of it and what you supply, but what do you get out of having residencies in your space? Why is it important to you to offer that and to meet artists or welcome artists?
Can I start?
Yes, start.
I'm so excited about this question because I personally see it context. In Denmark, there's not a lot of circus. There is some, but not super much. And we are based in Odense, which is the third largest city, town. So a lot of people haven't seen a lot. And even like my colleagues, we have new colleagues who come in from other fields of work, for example. They've been working in music. And it's so nice to have all this like dynamic flow of artists with such diversity of disciplines and points of view and themes and topics that they're interested in, or aesthetics. And it's so cool to sort of like even like think about regional, and kind of when we know that we have somebody coming from France, we kind of talk a little about what will it be. And it's an education almost for some of us who haven't been born in circus. And also for our audiences as well, because we're trying to build an audience and we're trying to build a taste and hunger for more circus. Then it's great to have this small incremental visits from artists who bring sometimes almost finished projects, so like the audience get to see something really fantastic, and then not on a huge cost. So these are great benefits for us.
Yeah. And a follow-up question on that, do you think when you have a residency, should it always be optional for the artist to decide if they want to show or meet the audience in some capacity? Or is it something that you require sometimes in certain residencies?
We only require it in specific projects. For example, we have a new series of residencies that are funded particularly to explore music, like Musik Dramatik in circus. And those, because of the nature of the application, then they require some form of encounter with the audiences. But this could also be a sharing where it's not something staged. So we could open a studio for sharing, and but typically we don't impose, so we don't require. And we think this is very important because it's only the artists who know how vulnerable or ready the piece is to be shown. So we don't want to put the artist in a situation to not have a good time. But almost everybody wants to share when the residencies are planned in advance and they know they're coming. They plan with that in their mind. But all these may be more ad hoc or urgent residencies where they're just like focused on a very particular part of the production. Then they sometimes opt out, which is fine for us.
Thank you. Andrea, do you want to add something about how your experience of that and your thoughts?
Well, it also depends on the residency, but we are happy if artists would like to share in a form of work in progress presentation, or which would be followed by artist talk, or in a form of maybe workshop, or just presentation about the project they are doing between our push. It's always like they can choose, but I don't remember a time when somebody said, no, we are not going to share anything. So artists are happy, mostly artists are happy to share and to get feedback from audience, because I think it's an important part of the creative process to meet your audiences and to see if you are going into the direction in the right way. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah. Linda, do you want to add something?
Yeah, we never require to show anything. We also see that as you also previously said, that it's up to the artist also to feel what they need in their process. Then we have a lot of artists who are actually sharing a lot of work. And I would say that the benefit with this here is because where Subtopia is located, it's kind of a circus hub in Stockholm. So what the people that often come to watch the residency showcases are other artists. So it usually ends up being really beautiful conversations after the showing between artists. That is very, I think, helpful in the continuation of the artistic process. And then in terms of us as Subtopia and the benefits that we see, I'd say that a huge thing for us is to stay connected to the field, and both the national field, the local field, but also the international field, that we are exposed to a lot of different projects that we would not have the possibility to see if they weren't coming. Of course, we travel a lot. We try to participate in festival and different networks, but it's a huge luxury to have all these projects coming to our home ground. And it's also a kind of non-hierarchical way to get to know artists, because I mean, we also run a circus festival, and I think there's an important link. But it's very nice to also have an insight in projects through a residency rather than this kind of seller-buyers relation. So here we can follow a process, and sometimes we follow artists and their artistic practice for years. And that's super nice to then be able to link into other parts of our organization and things that we do. So it's beautiful to have things on our home grounds.
Yeah, for sure. And what would you say are like the benefits for, like in a local context for the people that's actually, now you're talking about that there's artists because you're on a hub, but I'm also thinking about like people that live in the area, like your neighbors, so to speak. Have you felt that the residencies and the work in progress showing has actually helped you make a place for yourself so they get to know you and the art form? Has that been helpful in that context also?
I would say for us, we generally don't invite very broadly to our residency showcases. And the reason for that is that it's not a requirement, that it's not the main target for the residencies. But of course, sometimes there is people coming and people connecting, and then it's a beautiful way to be exposed to the art form. But I think a lot of the work also happens when the artists, they come here and they share their experiences, and that leads to us having other artists coming. So some part of the community work, I think it's also spread throughout the field rather than just geographically here. But then, of course, I mean, we have one residency coming this spring, and they are specifically asking to have a school class visiting. And then that's something that we, of course, want to be able to offer, and we help with the local networking. But it comes from what the artist needs rather than a bigger vision of creating a community, because that we do through other things. But the residencies are very focused on the artist's need. So if they want to do something with the community, we're super happy. But same thing there, it's not the requirement.
Yeah, great, thank you. Yeah, and Eliana, I wanted to add something there too.
Yes, I think for us it's also a huge audience development tool. And also we've experienced that there's like a lot of people showing up for work in progress presentations, and for these they don't have to pay, but they can pay if they want to, and a lot of people choose to pay to support the art. And we also get this feedback that it's always different, and that sometimes it's just like it's no, like we didn't understand. Because it's literally every time it's different, and maybe sometimes us in communication we're not always prepared because we don't always know the projects. So it's this very nice kind of like space of generosity where we don't know what's going to happen, but we're going to support these people who have a vision and they want to do it. And I think our audiences really love being part of that. And also what they like, we think, is that often they get to see the finished project, because we have this continuity value where we either do co-productions with some of the projects where we can and it fits, or we buy the finished performance and then they come back in a year or two, and then suddenly you have 50 people who've seen them when they just started, and it's so nice for them. So yeah, it's a good, we connect with our audience over the work in progresses quite a bit.
Thank you. Linda, you wanted to add something?
Yes, just adding to that. But I think it's very important to also be aware of the risk in inviting a local non-circus community to a residency showcase, because sometimes the things that are shown are really not the purpose is not for the audience enjoyment, it's really for the artistic process. And I think for me or for us, I also feel that it's important that if we invite broader, it's also important that it's something that the community can appreciate somehow. So we don't do this kind of counter movement where we invite the audience and then we show things that for them are like super duper weird. And sometimes that can be, of course, important, but we don't want to scare people away by showing things that are not ready for an audience yet. So I think there's a very fine balance in working with the community and showing materials that are not completely done yet.
Yeah, and I think that's always, like you said, that balance of like, you don't know how people will react, but you have an idea of your local audience anyways, and what they are used to seeing. Yeah, Gabriella, you wanted to add something too.
Yeah, so many aspects were mentioned that also applies to us, that we are focusing on the process, not on the result, but usually companies wants to show their work in progresses or give some workshops to local professionals or broad community. But one aspect I also thought about is that residencies is a good way to make fruitful connections, because people are staying for a longer time of period than for comparing to festival. When they're busy, they have shows, build up, show, build down, and then a goodbye. And usually artists are coming for 2 weeks to Arts Painting House. And I really feel that we are making stronger connections, and then it is easier to have those companies or artists in our festivals or other festivals in Lithuania. They know us. We're trying to host them properly. So the reputation of organization, or even the circus community of Lithuania, it's also growing in this way. People are sharing them, because I hear artists and companies sharing when I meet them in festivals that, oh, I've heard Arts Painting House has a residency program and it's so nice place. Maybe there's an opportunity to come with a show or with a residency project. So then it's way easier to connect with people, with other people as well, or to just have stronger connections that is more fruitful to not only to us, but also to the community of circus and performing arts in Vilnius and maybe even in Lithuania. So, it's a long process. It's a long way, but it's also a very, very important aspect.
Yeah, for sure. So that's really interesting. And I think I would also really like to hear a little bit about your challenges. Like, what is the most challenging thing hosting residency or planning residency? Is it like a financial thing, or what is it that that you would think is the most challenging for you?
As I mentioned before, we don't have permanent funding for the residencies. So that, I guess, is our biggest challenge. But also Riga Circus is, maybe I will shortly tell about the space. It's a historical building, more than 130 years old. And recently we went through massive renovation, but that was only the first part of the renovation. So we have a great space for the performance, for the audience, with very good technical equipment, but we do not have accommodation space. So that is another challenge we have. While we have future plans where the circus building will have next renovation steps, then we have planned residency space and accommodation for artists in residence. But for now, it's quite a challenge, because those are big expenses to accommodate for 1 or 2 weeks in Riga.
So how do you work with that? Like, is it more like you give a recommendation then to the artist where they can stay, or do you find a place for them still? Or
we find a place, yes. As I mentioned before, we try to find funds for it.
Yeah.
Or it is Airbnb apartment or a hotel.
Yeah, and I guess the local context, because you're all coming from so different places, that like cost and funding are of course differ quite a bit. Elena, how do you work at Dynamo with that?
Yes, I mean, money is the root of all our problems as well. But it presents itself as a bit of lack of maybe human resources in our team, because we have we just have limited staffing, and we also have this commitment to to be really good hosts. Our building is not necessarily always the greatest. We operate in this like old harbor building that we try to renovate, but we're missing different things. We don't have the best equipment. So we make up for what we lack with being like really hospitable and really helpful. But in the end, and together with the fact that we want our calendar to be full all the time, so we don't keep spaces empty, it really puts a strain a bit on particularly on our technical team, who need to be there at departure, at arrival for all the, so that's a bit of a challenge. And another challenge that's also connected to money is that we have a wish to be better or to develop our the way we promote the projects, because they have this like richness, and part of how we see our mission to support the development of circus in Denmark is by talking about it and showing what it can do. So every time we have residencies in a house that we don't document properly because 2 weeks go really fast, it's really kind of like ugh. So we wish to have a team that's dedicated to maybe like properly archiving the projects or documenting or doing some type of dissemination of ideas. Of course, in collaboration with the artists and what they need or what they feel like they want to share as well. Regarding the more practical things, we also have one apartment, but we have two workspaces, so we have two groups at the same time. So we always spend money on the second accommodation, and sometimes that second accommodation has to be paid by the company themselves. So that's also a bit of a challenge.
Great. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. There are challenges for sure. Gabriella, do you want to add something? Do you have any thoughts or?
Yeah, so as well, accommodation is one of the main challenges for us because we don't have our own accommodation place. So we rent apartments or studios next to Arts Printing House, and as Arts Printing House is in the very, very heart of Vilnius city, the capital, actually in the old town. So prices are quite high, but like we have some collaborations. And the sad part is that the sad part sometimes is if the group is big, as with Circo A company, as I mentioned before, as in this case, then the accommodation part is the biggest part of the expenses for the residency. And, we would like to redistribute those costs and to give artistic fees, to pay artistic fees instead of, paying for accommodation. But, there is a future plan of renovation of Arts Printing House. We'll see how it goes. And also the second challenge is that we only have one black box in Arts Printing House, and usually circus artists need that black box, and we have it only for 2 or 2.5 months during the year, and it's in the summer because during the other months of the year we have our daily repertoire going on. So when it ends in the middle of June until the end of September, we can offer the black box. So it's very limited time. So yeah, we need accommodation and we need more creation spaces. So that's actually I see the main challenges, and we usually find ways to solve some technical challenges and etc. Artists are usually flexible with and creative to find ways to work with the given technical conditions.
Yeah, for sure. Linda, you talked a little bit about that. Subtopia, I think, had like one apartment or like a room or something where you could have. But what other than that, is like, what do you see as the biggest challenges for you to overcome or that you have to work with?
I think, for us, it's also accommodation is a core thing, as all of you have mentioned, and especially for being able to bring in bigger companies. And now we have one small apartment where 2 people can sleep, but they need to be able to share a room. We had the bigger apartment, but we unfortunately lost that due to some Swedish construction law. So that is also changing a lot how we can do residencies, because it was beautiful when we had this 5-room apartment and we could have like a big residency from South Korea coming, and that wouldn't have been possible if we didn't actually own our own accommodation. So it's really great that we still have the small apartment, but I can also just agree with everyone else that the accommodation is the fundamental thing, and if you don't have it, it comes with cost. And we're not located in the middle of the city, so our problem is that there is no other accommodation. Even though we could rent the space and we had money for it, there is no place. So we kind of have to reach out to the local community if someone has a room, or put people in a hotel closer to the city. But that's also, I think, is affecting the residency experience if you have to go by public transport a lot, like it's coming all these other practical aspects of it. While when they live here, it's so nice that they can pretty much just roll up from bed and they're in the studio. So it's a very nice way to really, I think, be surrounded by your own work during the period here. But other than that, I would say that one of our main issues, which is a good one, is that we can't meet the demand. Like, more people want to come than we have time. We have one studio mainly. We can sometimes offer other spaces, but it's one place that's actually suitable for circus when it comes to rigging and those kind of things. And so yeah, we need more days of the year, and that's kind of an unsolvable issue. But other than that, I must say that it's very simple in a way to arrange a residency. The concept of a residency is very simple and nice. We have a space and we can offer the space, and beautiful things come out of it. So it's it's also a beautiful and kind of easy way to work.
Yeah, I think you brought up the interesting aspect of demand. Like, demand is higher than what you can actually offer. What would the rest of the panel say about that? Is it the same thing for you? Is it like, do you have a lot of people that apply, and is it hard for you to open up your space for everyone that's applying? Yeah, Elena.
Yes, completely similar situation. Also because I think at the start of last year, we started making it possible for artists to apply on our website. So we receive applications and we look at them every month. Which, and like in the first months, we like filled it out until the summer of 27. So it goes really much in advance and really, really fast. And that's a bit of we don't really know how to navigate it, because of course we need to keep some spaces open for maintenance to our spaces. Also, we're not able to be this like first responders to a company going, hey, help, we need urgent space for residency if we're booked until 2029. So that's a bit interesting to navigate at the moment. But yeah, it's definitely a lot of people writing that they need spaces and resources.
Yes, there's never enough, and especially places, of course, that can welcome circus and all different types of disciplines. Gabriella, do you want to add something? How looks for you?
Yeah, I also want to add that in Art Printing House, we have not only contemporary circus residencies, but also residencies for artists that are creating theater productions for kids and teenagers. And then also companies that are creating outdoor productions like theater, street arts, and street theater. They're also applying to have residency. So actually, contemporary circus is 1/3 part, of the residencies. But actually, contemporary circus artists are applying way more than other disciplines. And yeah, we cannot give residencies, offer residencies to everyone that are applying. But the main point is not that we have limited time. It's more because of financial, lack of finances. Like the main reason would be this one. But yeah, and I feel that it's we have more and more requests every year because the word spreads, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I want to hear from you also, Adrija, but I just want to say we're going to have a short break, about a 10-minute break after we've heard from Adrija also. and then we'll get back. But we'll wrap this little start session, or the first session, up with your answer here.
We have similar situation also here. Normally we have open calls when we have residencies we have funding. Then we do open calls and artists apply, but apart from that, artists also apply when we don't have open calls, and then there's quite a few times we have to say sorry, because there is a space, but we can't support you. And also the other thing is that we need to balance the time for residencies, the time for artistic program, and also time for events that we host, because we rent out the space in order to be able to build the artistic program. So we need to find a balance between all these things. And it depends on the year how many residencies we have at the space. But we try, actually, when we also have premises of the circus school, which is not in the main building, but it's a separate building, and then we try to combine and try to offer Riga Circus school space for artists. But that, of course, is not that well equipped space, and it's not, for example, suitable for aerial disciplines so much.
Yeah. So I'm really curious to hear your thoughts about potential future developments for residency, like what can be better, more functional, and what type of resources or support systems or structures that you think is needed to strengthen residencies long term. And I was thinking, Linda, maybe you can start and give your thoughts on that.
I think, it's important to enlighten the financial aspect, and that's like an very important factor to be able to work sustainably as like an organizer with residencies. So I think that would be maybe the main focus. But I think there's also a need for more spaces when we speak about the demand, that there are other places that are specifically also adjusted for circus, because what we're lacking is places where you can rig safely and do the kind of things that circus requires.
And could you give some examples of the places that you were talking about that do exist already? Do you mean other theaters or other venues?
I think it would be interesting to see that more theater and other stages also worked with adjusting their places to circus. It could be as easy as having rigging points, which is always not that easy, but just as a core thing, because I think that would open up to a lot more possibilities.
Yeah, and also fill spaces that when they're empty.
Yeah, exactly.
Gabriele?
Yeah, I would also like to add +1 to what Linda just said. I was also thinking about the possibility to have like local Lithuanian network of residencies, and like we will try now with Riga Circus to have one like Baltic or international residency exchange or so. It would be amazing to have some kind of local network of residencies in Lithuania when people from abroad are coming and they're having stops at different places, cities, towns. And then the other option would be to plan residencies with international colleagues, especially if companies are coming from far away with their van, are taking lots of time. To share, to think more in a more sustainable way, sharing costs, and to give opportunities to companies and artists just to have more creation time. That would be like, it's just like a little dream of ours to have local network, and then to have like international, European, or at least Baltic scale, network like this.
Yeah, that's a beautiful dream. I love that dream. I wish that would be coming true. But I'm also thinking when you talked about the exchanges, like the local context to work together with in your country, but also international. Is that also depending, of course, where you are in the your artistic process? But have you also worked and setting up like some kind of touring? If somebody is like a company or artist is quite late in the process and want to maybe tour or ready to tour after a residency. Is that something that you've been thinking about?
Yeah,
working on?
we were premiering some international works after residency in Arts Printing House, but as far as I know, we have never like made a tour of international company that has just finished their work, in Arts Printing House. So we usually try to do a little Lithuanian tour for the companies that already have like finished productions, all materials. Then it's way easier. Yeah.
Yeah. And how do the rest of the panel work with that? Is that something that you've done? Yeah, Elena.
Yeah, not so much for residencies, because actually in our experience, it's quite hard to have residencies that are longer than 2.5 weeks. We have one that's a month, so we were required by our funding to have the company in house for a month, and it was very difficult because of different commitments. So we've learned that the calendar of the artists is often very dynamic, so it's quite hard to become their touring managers. So, but we do that with when they come back, if it becomes a co-production or if we buy the show. And it's this is a huge shout out to my colleague Ida, who's our producer, and she has a very burning heart for sustainability and mobility. So we often try to have other stages present the performance, or we do this like recommendations to festivals in Denmark, for example. We had a Circus Next residency, which was like a great fit for the Feral Festival in Copenhagen, and then Ida did her magic, and then they were booked there. So yeah, of course, the sustainability and the return of the art in the country is a big deal for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I think those relationships that are built in residencies are so important also for things like that, to be able to, work together with the artist to set up something after the production is done. Audrey, how does it look in Riga? At Riga Circus.
Yeah, we also try to share information with the regional cultural houses. When we do, for example, we have residency, we do work in progress, we spread information in order to inform them that there will be this performance, for example, at our space after 1 year. So you come and see work in progress, maybe you want to book the same show for your venue. Till now, it happened once that there was some connection and a similar artistic view, and yeah, one of our artist residents was booked also for other venue in Latvia. But actually, yeah, I wanted to ask this question, but Elena just said about this timing. The 2 weeks are like maximum. In my experience, the artists are coming, more often they're coming for, I don't know, a week. And 2 weeks is like, then it means they're staying a long time. Do ever circus artists come for a longer period of residency? Because I used to work with visual artists in the visual art residencies, and then it's like norm that artists stay for 3 months, for example, in the residency, and it never happened with circus artists. And this is, I think, it's a question of the calendar and bookings. How it's in your places? I'm sorry.
No, it's a great question. Let's throw it out there. What do you guys say, Gabriela or Elena? Whoever was first there.
Yeah, okay, I can just
You go.
respond. Yeah, it's not very common for us either. Sometimes, it also depends on the project. For example, we had a solo artist who worked alone. So of course he had much more flexibility in handling his own calendar. And it's the bigger the group, the more difficult it is to actually make it work. And we also have now, I think, in the spring one that's 3 weeks. And again, it's and then the premiere for this production is in June, July. So it's really pressed for time. So that's when we experience that artists require a longer time, because now it really has to be, it's make or break. But yeah, it's not very common that it's so long.
Yeah, and I think if we have like artists listening into the talk, it would be great to if you write a question in the chat about, or a comment in the chat, if you actually wish for longer residencies than the 2 or 3 weeks then maximum. Gabriela, you raised your hand before. Did you want to add something?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that it's usually 2 weeks in our Spring House for residency, because it's not. I think it's not a sustainable way to invite, like to have residency for less, because for less time, because it takes time, it takes finances to come, and during the 2 weeks, as I've mentioned before, we can make stronger connections. But for example, this summer, Circo A is coming for 1 week because they are a very big group. So then when we collaborated with Riga Circus to make their residency still like a proper residency, a longer one, because they're coming from far away and they're taking lots of time and lots of finances from our side, actually.
Linda, you have a comment, but just before that, I see that there is some listeners that have raised their hand. It would be great if you could write it in the chat so we can take it afterwards, so we don't lose what you're thinking. Yeah, Linda. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm also super curious to hear if there's a demand for longer residency periods, because we usually also offer a week to 2 weeks, but we also adjust quite a lot to the wished dates as far as we can. But what we do a lot is also that we have returning artists. So maybe you do 1 or 2 weeks and then you come back 6 months later and you do a second period. So I think that's also a way to work with the extended periods, but they're kind of split. But I'm actually not sure if this is because the need, or if it's because of a structure that we're just remaining out of habit. So it would be very interesting to hear what the demand is.
Yeah. Now we get a little bit off topic, but I guess it's also about what you wish for the future development. But is there something else that you would love to see, like in the future, from your perspective now, or your experience? What would you like to develop to make residencies better? If you think from your venues side.
I can continue on that. But
yeah.
I mean, a dream would of course be able to give some economics into it, so that it doesn't come with the cost to go on a residency. Then it's actually a financed part of a creational process. Because even though we offered the studio and we offered accommodation, if you work on your project, you don't have another income, it's going to come to a cost for the artist, and would be beautiful if that wasn't the case. But then I like to think about that we as residency places can also work against this, I would say, development or trend that you require a lot in an application process, and to really offer a space where you don't need to send huge project descriptions and have a super finished idea to really be a part where we also work with a lot of trust in the artist, that we have trust in, that if they're given time and space and money, art will also be made. So I think that we can play an important role to have a lot of trust in the artists themselves.
Yeah, that's interesting. Anybody want to add anything to that?
Maybe I just wanted to share the thought we have here. We are planning to develop kind of mentoring program for our artists in residence, so that if there is a need, then artists can come with the creation in the process, and we can offer some mentoring support, or it's a dramaturgist or choreographer or another experienced artist. That is like our idea that we try to develop.
Yeah, that sounds really good. Also necessary. Yeah, Helena.
Yeah, I mean, very specifically for us in Dynamo, I think the development of the physical frame, like the actual building, is the main point, because we have a really low ceiling. So this cuts us out of supporting a lot of projects. Unfortunately, nobody from the municipality is sitting in this conversation today, but because they own the building. So just raising the roof, I guess. But also this is, I don't know if residencies would be better. I think they're already great when they happen. But I have this wish for more, just more awareness of it in where we are. And this is also part of why we want to have more dissemination, and even that people consider residencies or visiting artists as knowledge producers in a way, because they don't create in a vacuum. They do create from their positionalities, from their places in the world. So just to have more dialogue in our local community, I would see that a major development. Just this inspiration, and there are these amazing creators who come to Odense, of all places, who have super great ideas, and of course they need their time in silence in the studio to create. But I think it would be such a benefit for the local community to be inspired and a bit shaken in their beliefs, and then to put the art and the ideas and the research that is being done in the broader context of culture and the zeitgeist of what's happening, and how can circus enter different dialogues. So this knowledge sort of network around it that doesn't really take away energy from artists, but it's just us, the curious cats around it, who have just more resources to do projects like that. I would really love to see that happening. Thank you.
Yeah, so when you talk about awareness, so you're talking in the local context to more of an audience, or are you also talking about municipalities or?
I mean, I don't think the politicians should necessarily be involved in driving knowledge and art, but for example, we are a university town here, but it's so hard for us to reach the students and even the teachers at the university. They don't teach circus, but they teach other forms of art. So I just crave that we were more of a a space for dialogue and conversation, and we can do that locally. We can also do it otherwise. We make a magazine where we put a lot of the ideas that we encounter in our residency, in interviews with our residency artists, for example, and we try to amplify their voices in that way, which I hope becomes an international way of doing it. But yeah, this is kind of a local need.
Yeah, thank you. So that brings me to the next question. What would be the next step to reach that? Who needs to take responsibility for what to make these dreams or these future thoughts happen? Have any idea or thoughts about that? Who would you like to see take more responsibility? I'm thinking you're all taking lots of responsibility already by just offering the residencies and trying to do the best you can with your with what you have. So who else could take responsibility and where?
I mean, I don't know. For Denmark, I see a lot of, I think, private funders, for example, they support similar projects in different art forms. We have this great foundation called Bikubenfonden, and they support knowledge production projects. And like I've been ruling for for something similar for circus as well. And I think it's a matter of lobbying, but lobby also takes money and a lot of research and a lot of convincing, and I don't know who should take the responsibility. That's a really big job to have, but yeah.
I'm thinking one thing that Linda brought up is also for other venues like theaters and other places to actually start inviting also circus artists to their places, maybe by getting so you could actually rig in the venue also. That would be another way of another part taking responsibility also for inviting artists or other artists than maybe what they normally have.
Yeah. Of course, and I also think this, like often we try to have this dialogue also with presenters. In one of our festivals, we had this like professionals day, and some of the other presenters there also like said that they don't know a lot. We don't know a lot about what it requires. And then like, okay, who's responsible to be educated? I think artists are doing a great job sometimes being quite clear about their technical needs and openness to adapt, and like we can have have a conversation, we can bring a technician or I don't know, but also from funders we hear that we don't know about circus, we don't know enough or a lot. And then of course I feel that maybe we're not doing a great job to produce enough knowledge, to put it out there, to put it in the cultural consciousness of people that it exists, it has a point of view. So I think the responsibilities may be shared, but also the resources. For example, now there's this new school in Copenhagen Contemporary College for Circus, and they're doing like focus on training students, of course. And I don't know what the future is for them, if they're going to do like more academic research, lobby work, but it's a great step ahead, I would say, to have an attention on what it could be done.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
Thanks. Linda, did you want to add? It looks like you're ready to give a comment.
I was starting. No, I was thinking that I know that the Nordic Culture Point, for a while, had the program. They still have, especially for residencies that organizers can apply for. And I think that kind of structures are they're very useful. Because if you then support the residency centra, then that will automatically also give support to the artists. So I think a way to take responsibility is also that it would be very helpful if there were more specific funding towards residencies. But then I think we also have some kind of responsibility as a field also to communicate how circus is done, and that, like you mentioned also, that it's a need for knowledge, and the knowledge that needs to be spread is that this is how circus is made. So if you want to show the circus, then maybe other infrastructures need to be made. And also if we're talking about entering other kinds of stages or theaters that work with other processes, it's important to acknowledge that it might look slightly different than that they're used to, and not just in terms of what's on stage, the whole process behind it. So it's important to communicate that.
Yeah, I find several times when I've been talking to lots of different people, but there seems to be a bit of a lack of understanding of the time it takes to create a production or to a piece, which I think is also something that's important to communicate. I was thinking more about, we talked earlier about the collaborations and what that could give, and the touring opportunities that could give. Do you have any plans, or do you think about collaborating more? I might really like to get into that a little bit more, because I know there's lots of projects that get started, and there is some funding for it, and you get the money for a little while, and then the funding runs out, and then it kind of dies out because everybody has so much to do, and you have, like you mentioned, the finance is a bit of an issue. So do you have any thoughts about how we can make it more sustainable and keep these collaborations just from a sustainable point of view for everything, like the environment, for working conditions, for creating art, and also for the venues, of course, because it does take resources to offer residencies. What do you think? Do you have any thoughts on collaborations or how you could work with that?
Yeah, I can add a little that I think it's important with the long-term collaborations, and that it's important to work for those, because what takes a lot of time and energy is the new collaborations. But once you've done that kind of first work, it's usually collaborations that can last years and years. So structures and possibilities to do the long-term ones, I think that's super important. And that's Subtopia. That's what we build everything on, is collaborations. We don't do anything alone, really. It's always in relation to others. That's how we also exist. So yeah, collaboration is a core thing for us.
Yeah. I don't know how much time we have left, Kristina. You want to?
Yeah, we have 10 minutes. So I
10
think
minutes,
about
yeah.
if there were some questions from the listeners.
Yeah. I can't see anything in the chat.
See any hands? I don't see the hands.
No hands. No.
If there anyone who wants to say something.
While people think, I was just going to ask each one of you, what is a good hosting mean for you in a residency? Like if you could give like some recommendations or an idea to somebody else that would want to start doing or offer residencies, what would it be? One or two things that's you feel is the most important. Do you want to start with Gabrielle?
Okay, so the first thing that popped in my mind is clear communication, from both sides, from residency space, organizers, the things that they can offer, and also if they expect anything, at the end of the residency or during the residency, and from resident side, the ones that are coming to the residency, also like very clear needs from the very start, because it usually takes a long time, like in our case, like many emails and then some online meetings, and etc. So I think the clear communication actually is the key for many things and challenges, and problems. So and just to be open, both sides to be open during the residency if anything changes, or the needs or just to be clear. Also, it's also the communication, right? To be open and honest. So I think that's the main thing that popped in my mind now.
Yeah, communication is always so important. Odria, do you want to add what you think is most important, or what you would like to recommend?
Well, Gabrielle, just what she said, I totally agree. Communication, then maybe it's very important to introduce artists or companies to the place where they are coming to, like this local context and local people also, and audience, and maybe other artists, local artists, and the cultural field where they are coming to. I think it gives widens the perspective, and normally when we try to do some mingling and all these kind of things for the companies who are coming there, always get to new, not friends, but new thoughts on and ideas, and maybe I have experienced also collaborations, and this is, I think, that is what residency is, that they get out from the usual habitat to the new situation, and they get as much as possible out from it.
Yeah, so important meeting. Elena, do you want to recommend something?
Yeah, I mean, for me, my lesson as a residency coordinator and being in touch with our guests is always that, yeah, they need clarity and they need to feel like that somebody knows all the answers. So that's my commitment, that I am always ready to answer questions, and also to like have this empathy and care for people, because they just arrive in this like nobody, sometimes nobody speaks English maybe around them, or they don't understand how things work. So then it's important to have somebody there to be present, because for administration it's very easy to kind of withdraw in the office, and then just this presence is super important. And also I would say making a bit of effort to understand also where the groups are coming from, because we and sort of like be generous about this like scope of the where in their like creative life the artists could be, because we had residents who were here in their first residency ever in their career, and of course there's like we could feel the heartbeat and it was so beautiful. But or we can have like very routine and like big companies who just want to be left alone in the studio, and that's also fine. So just like to understand this, I think it's very important. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, so important. Linda,
I can just agree with the communication and the preparations to know what's needed and required, and I think that comes from both ends. And then I would say a warm welcome is one of the best things that you can offer, because that establishes how the communication throughout the residency will be. To be there to present this is the space, this is the place, this is the people, and this is the community. And I think a good start is almost everything.
Yeah, for sure. Let me see. Christina, do you see any questions? Do you want to?
I don't see any questions.
No, I don't think so.
But I didn't see any hands before when you saw it. So I don't know if it's...
So only one. But maybe we should start wrapping it up. We have like 4 minutes left, if I am correct, my timing. And I think this has been so incredibly interesting, and the time has just like disappeared so quickly. I mean, I have so many questions still, of course, but I've also written down some things. We talked about challenges, and it seems like the funding has been like one of the major issues, of course, but also accommodation. We talked about what was important with collaborations and why residencies are important for the development of the art form, and also how it's an important thing for artists to meet each other and on the local level if you come and visit something, and also getting the space to yourself to just be totally focused on what you're doing. And we talked a little bit about the money, the future, of course. We talked about local networks, exchanges and residencies that we wish for. So it's been so many interesting things. And I want to thank everybody that showed up and listened to this, and of course to this fantastic panel that comes with so many interesting perspectives and their experiences. It was very generous. And I also want to thank Caravan and Riksteatern Skåne for organizing this and initiating this great talk. And then I will hand over to Christina and Hanna. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Christina Simson and Circus Centrum and Hanna at Caravan for doing this together. And a special also thanks to Gabrielle from Arts Printing House, Odje from Riga Circus, Elena from Dynamo, och Linda från Subtopia. And if you know anyone that wants to have this session sent to them afterwards, everyone who's listening, you can just email me or Christina, maybe it's easier. So Hanna, do you want to say something
Yeah,
Yes.
I also want to say thank you so much for being a part of this. And for me, this is also now a tool that I can use in lobbying to get more support for residencies in this region. And I hope that you also can use it in some way in your places to make sure that we have funding.
Great.
Tack.
Then we'll wrap it up. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
so
Thank you for the
Bye.
invitation.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.